Ladies and gentlemen, I have found the best way to learn law, and it is go to law school. If you don't, however, have those several hundreds of thousands of dollars at your disposal, or you're just merely interested in law and don't necessarily want to pursue it as a career, I have found one method that, at least in my personal experience, has not only been the most efficient way to learn law, but also the most effective way. So first we should establish I'm no professional in law. I'm a high school student. I am interested in pursuing law in the future, but it's not necessarily a specialty yet. However, I do perform legal analysis on my YouTube channel, and I also have a few debate platforms, so I do have a little bit of experience, and I really enjoy learning law, and I think that's the most important requirements to have when attempting this approach. So this is it. Buy this. I should mention that this is not a sponsorship, this is not a direct company promotional video. I just really like this thing, and I want you to know about it. This is Black's Law Dictionary 11th edition, released very recently in 2019. Over 55,000 terms, 2,110 pages. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. My general theory of learning is essentially an archery metaphor, and this can really apply to any subject, including law. So let's take an example of a 5th grader learning math. 2 plus 2 equals 4, of course, is a generally easy concept to understand for a 5th grader. So that target, let's say if this is the 5th grader, that target is going to be quite close and therefore easy to hit for that 5th grader because, well, 4. It's 4. Now let's say that the teacher of this 5th grade class introduces the concept of triple integrals. Well, that target is going to be quite a distance away, a lot further from that 2 plus 2 equals 4 problem. The size of the target doesn't change, the distance, however, does, which makes that target a lot more difficult to hit. So this is where Black's Law Dictionary comes into play, and why it's so much better than simply looking up a definition online. What Black's Law Dictionary does is, for those concepts that are far away and difficult to understand, it makes that target larger by adding a whole bunch of context and really going into depth about concepts that are really nuanced throughout history. Let's take a look at an example. If you look up the definition of negligence online, negligence, you get failure to take proper care in doing something. Or the law definition is failure to use reasonable care resulting in damage or injury to another. You can't use a simple one-sentence definition in law. That's simply impossible if you want to thoroughly prove a case. Black's Law Dictionary includes not only the main definition, but very specific language. For example, the failure to exercise the standard of care that a reasonably prudent person would have exercised in a similar situation, and it goes on to list different examples, alternate definitions, different numbered definitions which could have different meanings depending on the context, and also how this term has been used throughout history and alternate texts that help support this term. The term negligence is a very complicated legal term, so Black's Law Dictionary doesn't necessarily change the distance between the archer and the target, which is the definition of negligence, but what it does is expands the term, gives a lot more, and really just the right amount of supplemental information to make that target of negligence larger, and as a result, make it easier to shoot or to understand. Let's look real quick at another example, which I found very nicely defined. Abortion, an artificially induced termination of a pregnancy for the purpose of destroying an embryo or fetus, and then the book lists the history of the term. In Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court first recognized, explains that case, and then it says 16 years later in Webster v. Reproductive Health, and then it lists out in very specific and compact language the nuance behind each term, because some simply can't be defined by a 1 to 2 sentence definition on Google. If you want to know just plainly what is abortion, then a Google search will suffice. However, if you want to learn the legality and the legal history more specific behind these concepts, then Black's Law Dictionary is probably going to be more closer to what you want. And sometimes Google might not even have a 1 sentence definition. For example, the term impeachable offense, in which Google simply presents you with a list of websites and documents for you to sift through, when Black's Law Dictionary gives you a real nice specific and step-by-step explanation throughout history what is an impeachable offense. Now, of course, there are some drawbacks to using a dictionary in order to learn law. There was an article by Rob Nadelson in which he gives some valid criticisms, including some cases cited being idiosyncratic or old, the existence of contradicting cases in other jurisdictions, and not necessarily having the room to include that extreme amount of nuance. And then there's this fact, which is, who wants to read a dictionary like a book? Because the lead editor behind this dictionary, Garner, anticipated such criticism, he actually wrote in the preface to the 7th edition, I really like this quote, he cited Samuel Jackson's quote, which was, "Dictionaries are like watches. The worst is better than none, and the best cannot be expected to go quite true." So he essentially admits that, yeah, not everything in this dictionary, not all of the information is going to be put in a 100% perfect way. There will be some flaws, but it's a lot better than having nothing. One of the main reasons I prefer Black's Law Dictionary as opposed to the other dictionaries is that the lines are nicely spaced. Honestly, that's my main reason. And of course, there's also the inclusion of other essential materials, such as a very nice looking guide to the dictionary. There is a pronunciation guide at the beginning of the book, a list of abbreviations, a list of over 3,000 legal maxims, most of which I believe are in Latin, and they're essentially legal rules that have been used throughout history, not necessarily as reliable today, but still interesting to read. There's, of course, the Declaration of Independence in the back, followed by the Constitution, then the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all of the Supreme Court justices, associate and chief justices listed, and of course the president they were appointed by, and the years they served. It's really a lot of really cool information, and a very good starting place, especially when you're introducing yourself to law. And this thing also folds nicely. It has a very strong spine. On top of this, Black's Law Dictionary is the most established or well-known and well-respected dictionary on the market, so there's that. I believe that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to learn law, definitely consider purchasing this book. I recommend it. Regarding my own channel, I'm going to be producing a lot more content very, very soon. First semester of high school just ended. College applications are basically all submitted. So now I get a lot of freedom, and I'm excited. I have a list of ideas that I can't wait to upload. So I hope to get those out very soon. If you watched till the end, once again, I appreciate you, I thank you, and yeah, see you next time.